Today I'm going to be comparing two of my favourite shows, so it feels wrong to compare them, but I'm going to do it anyway. Educators and Good Education. No, Bad Education, sorry. If there was a show called Good Education, I would be watching it right away. There is a show called Sex Education, and I know that's really popular on Netflix, but I have no intention to be watching that because that's what all the popular people watch, and I don't do what the popular people do. So I'm going to be talking about these shows that no one has heard of and hope that you will check them out as well. And I hope that you'll get some laughs out of them too because they're both sitcoms. Bad Education is more of kind of like the Office style. It's run by Alfie Wickers, who I've got to say is like such the handsome guy. Like I wish he was my teacher at school. If he was like my teacher, I would be happy to go to school every day. And I know that sounds really creepy, but I did some internet searching and then I found out that he just gave birth. I mean, he didn't, but his wife did, and they have a little cute baby daughter together. And so the day I found out about him, I learnt that he'd become a father, which is just a coincidence. So congratulations, Jack Whitehall, if you're watching. I think I'm more in love with his character, Alfie Wickers, than Jack Whitehall himself. I know Jack Whitehall is very talented. I'm not saying that as a diss, but he's just, the character Alfie is just like, I don't know if it's the way he dresses, but as you can see, I'm really smitten with this guy, whom I barely know. And the show came out almost a decade ago, but things still basically hold up. I'm pretty sure they did like a revival season, but I don't want to know any spoilers or anything. I'm making sure not to search anything up because I don't want that obviously to interfere with the show because I'm really getting into it. I just finished season 2. They've held 4 seasons, which is a normal thing in UK to have shows that run for like 4 seasons. It's not like America where shows go for like 9 seasons or longer. I think that's good. So in terms of like, because if it just goes over 4 seasons, it kind of, people get sick of it and it kind of takes away a bit of the humour of the show. So I do think 4 seasons is enough. Like to an American, it'd obviously be like, what? But it's also seen as the norm here in Australia as well. So if you're looking for like some kind of short show, not too long, but you want a bit of comfort, I would definitely recommend Bad Education. It's just real. I feel like it's really underrated. Maybe because I wasn't like, maybe it was really popular when it first came out, but I was too young to know about it. But now I'm discovering it, and I just like, it's such a great comfort show. Basically, I turn it on, I'm suddenly, away from all my problems, and that's basically the best thing a show could do. And I love how it has the guy from the Catherine Tate show who plays the assistant principal. I'm still not quite sure what he does, but he's just this really eccentric guy who on the Catherine Tate show he played the grandma's grandson, and he also played like the girl who says, Lauren, I'm not bothered. He played her like best friend or something. So yeah, that was really cool to see him as well. If you like the Catherine Tate show, you'll definitely love Bad Education because every time he pops up, he doesn't really have a huge role, but it's just really funny. He just does all these little like funny, like, I don't want to say slapstick because that sounds offensive, but he's just yeah, I was just thinking about him. He's hilarious. He's so talented, just as talented as Alfie. He's definitely like my second choice. And I sound so crazy right now, and I'm aware of it. But yeah, it's really held up. None of the jokes seem like, oh, that's so 10 years ago. Like obviously a lot has changed since then, but with this show, it really relaxes me because even though it's from like 10 years ago, nothing about it seems different. Other than the phones, like people's hair is not that different. Like it's really I really don't get why people say, oh, 10 years ago things were so different. Like it was really not that different. Obviously it's easy there was no ChatGPT and there was no AI music, definitely. That's like one of the main concerns of our time, but it was definite. Yeah, I do understand why people want to go back, and if you do want a little time travel, I would suggest Bad Education. And the next show I'm going to be talking about is none other than Educators, which is from New Zealand. On my last video, a week ago almost, I did another video on a New Zealand dark comedy show. You should go check it out, called Creamery. And it's just, yeah, I delved into that quite a bit. So if you want to watch that, I recommend you do. New Zealand just pumping out good shows one after another. Like, I watched Educators probably like 2 years ago. It's now in its like third season, I believe. I'm not sure if it's their last season. I'm pretty sure shows are the same as Australia. They don't go on for very long. I wouldn't be surprised if this was their last season, but it would be very sad because Educators is an improvised comedy. So it's like Curb Your Enthusiasm, but teachers. So it's a totally different, like, set up to Bad Education. Bad Education is just like, obviously, I guess, scripted, and the camera just pans to... It's not like documentary style, The Office. It's not like zooming into different people's reactions. And it's not really that way with Educators, but it definitely has the Curb Your Enthusiasm feel to it, like getting into that Larry David, I don't know. I actually had a dream about him last night. So weird. But yeah, they're very likable. They're all idiots, but it follows this group of like 6 or 7 teachers, as it explains, or educators, and I think that's such a good name, because it's like, what do you mean by educators? What does educators even mean in this society? Like, teachers are... It's just like, basically, they're dumb people. Like, they don't teach anything that worth learning about, or they usually teachers, they don't equip us, what I'm trying to say, with life skills, necessary life skills that we need. And I think that the show is kind of poking fun at that, which is why these two shows are called Education and Educators, because it's just kind of poking fun at the, like, this isn't really even that important. School isn't really that important. And these two shows do a great job of that. And so Educators in New Zealand, it's in Dunedin, I believe. It's then in this, like, South Island at this high school. And it's about all these teachers and their, like, lives. It's really weird. Probably, like, 10 times weirder than Bad Education. Like, Bad Education can get away with being weird because obviously that's where it's a bit different, because Bad Education has, you know, the quirky characters, like it's got the chavs, you know, the kind of bogany, hilly-billy British people, lads we all know, who are in Alfie's class, and then we have like, obviously, the guy from the Catherine Tate show, just a really eccentric person to start with. So we already kind of know that it's, like, weird, so it's fine. But with Educators, it's just really odd. These people just look completely normal, but once the camera's on and they start speaking, it's really bizarre, and I just can't explain it. Like, sorry if I'm saying like too much, but they have, like, a skit where they bring an adult is enrolled in the high school, like, an adult's like, I want to be in school, and so he shows up in the reception, and the receptionist's like, hello, thinking he's a parent, and he actually is. It's really embarrassing. His poor daughter sees her dad at the school because he's a student. And then there's in the first season, I'm pretty sure there's this Australian PE teacher. I love him. He's definitely one of my favourite characters in the show. All of these characters are really good. I don't want to pick one over the other, but I love the Australian one because you got to have that Australian representation, if you know what I mean. So and it's really strange. Like, in the first season, he has, like, a crush on his student. It's just, obviously, it's so creepy and it's so wrong. But the way that whoever he is, I'm sorry, I don't know this comedian, even though he's Australian, but he does an excellent job of delivering, exceptionally doing that character, because it must be really hard. I can't imagine doing improv comedy. It's obviously people in that scope. They're definitely, I guess, they practice and they're used to it and all that training. But to just see them, like, what they come up with in each scene, I obviously don't know how improv works, but it's just really incredible to see these people's work and what they can come up with, because you never know what the end product's going to be, and I think that's the genius of improv comedy. So if I had to pick one, I think I did a good job describing these two shows. I'm very proud of myself, so I usually do a bad job. If I did, please let me know. But yeah, I find it really hard to pick between the two. If I had a gun to my head, not that I ever would, but so it's making me obviously easier not to make a decision. But if I did actually have a gun to my head, and it was like, which one, Bad Education or educators. I'd probably let myself get shot because honestly, I can't choose between the two. They're just so good. I know I should be saving my own life, but it's hard to compare them, but I just felt like I needed to because they both have educators in their name. So I hope that helps with your next TV binge watching list. If you live in Australia, you can watch both Educators and Bad Education on SBS On Demand, which is how I found them. SBS is definitely one of the best channels Australia has, free to air TV. It has they add so many shows from around the globe, but so many weird shows that most people probably wouldn't watch if it wasn't for SBS. So I got to credit SBS. It's always been that weird little channel that has some kind of bizarre shows, but when you do watch them, they're really you're actually wow, why aren't people seeing this show? Like, it's just so underrated and it makes my blood boil. But then again, I want them to be my little secret, so yeah, I don't want people I went to school with finding out about this show, that's for sure. But but you should definitely watch it.